Today in this lecture, we are going to discuss the abnormal circulatory dynamics in mitral stenosis and mitral regurgitation, or what abnormalities occur in the blood circulation, when there is mitral stenosis or mitral regurgitation. Now, this is the circulatory system as a whole. Normally, we see that the human body basically consumes the oxygenated blood, and the deoxygenated blood basically returns back to the right atrium. From the right atrium, the deoxygenated blood goes into the right ventricle. Then from the right ventricle, it goes into the lungs. In the lungs, the blood gets oxygenated. Then the oxygenated blood returns into the left atrium. From the left atrium, the blood goes into the left ventricle, and from the left ventricle, the oxygenated blood again is pumped into the whole of the body, and the body again consumes the oxygen. Now, this is the left atrium and this is the left ventricle, and this left atrium and left ventricle has been enlarged over here. From the left ventricle, the blood is pumped into the aorta. So LA is the left atrium and the LV is the left ventricle, and the left ventricle basically pumps the blood into the aorta. Suppose, for example, if there is abnormality in this valve. Now normally what happens is that the blood from left atrium, it can come into the left ventricle, it can come from the left atrium into the left ventricle, but it cannot go back from the left ventricle into the left atrium. In stenosis, in mitral stenosis, the surface area of the mitral valve, it is decreased. Now, if normally this is the surface area, now in mitral stenosis, the surface area for the blood to go from the left atrium into the left ventricle is decreased. Now here we see the left atrium, the area of the mitral valve is decreased, or it is stenosed. So now blood will be pooling back into the left atrium. The blood will be pooling back here in the left atrium. What happens in the mitral regurg is that this valve is incompetent. Normally it is allowing the blood to move from the left atrium into the left ventricle, but is not allowing to move from the left ventricle into the left atrium. So blood can come from the left atrium into the left ventricle, but it cannot go back from the left ventricle into the left atrium, or from the left ventricle into the left atrium. In mitral regurgitation, blood go back. In the mitral regurgitation, blood goes back because the valve here, in the stenosis, the surface area of the valve was decreased, but in mitral stenosis, the area of the valve was decreased, but in mitral regurgitation, the valve is incompetent. It is incompetent, and it is allowing the backward movement of the blood in systole. When the left ventricle contracts, this ventricle when contracts, some blood goes back into the left atrium. Now, in both the conditions, in the stenosis and in mitral regurgitation, there is decreased movement of blood from the left atrium into the left ventricle, because in stenosis, it was difficult for blood to move from the left atrium into the left ventricle, and in regurgitation, blood is going back. So in both the condition, there is basically decreased movement of blood from the left atrium into the left ventricle, or some blood is being retained in the left atrium due to these abnormalities. Now what happens due to this condition is that the left atrial pressure increases. Pressure in the left atrium increases because a lot of blood is start pooling here. Now you should know that this left atrium is basically receiving blood from the lungs. These are the lungs, and blood from the lungs is coming into the left atrium. So now this pressure will slowly and gradually will be transferred to the lungs as well. But initially, if the problem is small, the heart will try to compensate, as we discussed in the left ventricle, as we discussed in the left aortic stenosis, aortic regurg, that initially hypertrophy of the heart occurs and some compensatory changes occur. But as the problem increases, the pooling of blood in the left atrium increases. So the pressure of the left atrium increases, and the pressure basically it goes into the lungs as well, because when a lot of blood is being accumulated, so blood in the lungs cannot come back into the left atrium, so a lot of blood is being pooled into the lungs as well. So pooling of blood is occurring in the lungs here in this area. Now what happens when a lot of pooling of blood occurs in the lungs due to increased pressure in the left atrium? Pulmonary edema starts to occur. Now pulmonary edema occurs only when pressure in the left atrium increases more than 25 millimeter of mercury. When the pressure in the left atrium goes beyond 25 to 40 millimeter of mercury, only then pulmonary edema starts to occur. And why pulmonary edema occurs? Pulmonary edema occurs due to edema in the lungs, or there is increased collection of fluid in the lungs. As pedal edema occurs, edema in the feet occurs when there is fluid collection in the feet. Similarly, pulmonary edema occurs when there is damping or increased collection of fluid in the lungs. And the fluid collection or damping occurs in the lung because the pressure in the left atrium is so much high that it is difficult for the right ventricle to pump pressure with so much pressure that it can be pumped into the left atrium. So due to high pressure, the pressure in the lungs is low, because the pressure on the right side of the heart is low, and due to the low pressure in the lungs, this pressure is not sufficient to bring all the blood into the left atrium, because pooling of blood is occurring in the left atrium due to stenosis or regurgitation or both the conditions. So initially there is decreased movement of blood from the left atrium into the left ventricle, then there is increased LA pressure slowly and gradually. Once the pressure in the left atrium increases above 25 millimeter of mercury, pulmonary edema starts to occur. Then the left atrium size also starts increasing. The size of the left atrium slowly and gradually starts increasing. Now this LA, the size of this left atrium, it will start increasing. It will start increasing. Once the size of the left atrium increases, then there are increased chances of atrial fibrillation. There are increased chances of atrial fibrillation. How atrial fibrillation occurs? Suppose, for example, this is the left atrium and it is being excited by SA node. Now, in normal circumstances, this SA node will be able to excite this left atrium. But if the size of the left atrium increases, if there is increase in left atrium size, then this current, the current coming from the SA node is somewhere here. SA node is somewhere here, and this current from the SA node spreads into the atria. And here we have some AV node, and then the AV node basically spreads the current to the ventricles. Now, if the size of the LA is increased, if the size of the left atrium is increased, then this current from the sinus node, SA node, takes a long time. It takes long time. So due to this delayed depolarization, the potential, the spread of the current disperses, and irregular contraction of the atrium or both the atria starts, which is known as atrial fibrillation. So due to increase in size of the left atrium, atrial fibrillation occurs. Once the atrial fibrillation has developed, then there is decreased pumping of the left atrium. There is decreased pumping of the left atrium. Now, due to all these conditions, the amount of blood that is pumped into the body decreases. The amount of blood decreases. The amount of blood that is pumped decreases. What happens is that the kidneys are present here. The kidney starts retention of fluid. Kidney starts retention of fluid, because the kidneys think that they perceive this low pressure is decrease in the fluid, so they start retaining the fluid, and they starts increasing the blood volume. Now, all these compensatory changes, the increase in the left atrial pressure, the pulmonary edema, these increase in the left atrium size, and then increase in the blood volume, all these compensatory changes are occurring. The blood volume is increasing. The kidneys are trying to increase the blood volume so that more fluid can come back to the heart, and the heart can pump more fluid, because due to the stenosis and due to the regurgitation, the pumping effectiveness has decreased, and the body is not properly receiving the oxygen and the nutrients. So these compensatory changes are occurring due to all the organs of the body, so that they can return the pumping of the heart to the normal. Now, when all these pumping compensatory changes fail, what happens is that the pressure which initially was increasing in the left atrium, and then it led to increased pressure in the lungs, and it led to the formation of pulmonary edema. It also led to increased back pressure on the right ventricle, because the blood in the lungs is being pumped by the right ventricle. If pressure in the lungs increases, because there is high pressure on the left side, that pressure is being transferred to the lungs, and from the lungs that pressure is being transferred to the right ventricle. Now pressure on the right ventricle also increase, and the right ventricle also has to apply a lot of pressure, and it has to pump the blood with a lot of force so that it can pump the blood normally into the lungs. And in all these compensatory changes, there is increase in size of the muscle mass of the right ventricle, which is known as right ventricular hypertrophy. So these are all the abnormal circulatory changes. These are all the abnormal changes which normally are not present in the human body, but these changes occur in mitral stenosis and mitral regurgitation. What happens that initially there is decreased movement of blood from the left atrium into the left ventricle. Due to stenosis and due to regurgitation, the blood in the left atrium cannot properly go into the left ventricle, or some of the blood is coming back into the left atrium. So there is decreased movement of blood, which leads to increase in left atrial pressure. The pressure in the left atrium increases, and due to increase in the left atrial pressure, pressure is transferred into the lungs, and the pressure in the lungs also starts increasing, which leads to fluid collection in the lungs, and pulmonary edema occurs. And pulmonary edema occurs only when the pressure in the left atrium has increased more than 25 millimeter of mercury. Then with more increase in pressure, more increase in blood in the left atrium, the size of the left atrium increases. When the size of the left atrium increases, the electrical conduction mechanisms get disturbed, and the current coming to the atrium, which basically excites the atria, it is disturbed, which leads to the atrial fibrillation, abnormal contraction or no contraction of the atria, which again leads to decreased pumping effectiveness of the atria. And due to decreased pumping and due to stenosis and due to regurgitation, the blood pressure decreases. The blood pressure decreases, or the pumping effectiveness of the heart decreases. When the pumping effectiveness of the heart decreases, there is decreased fluid coming to the kidney, and the kidney starts retaining the fluid, and it leads to basically increase in the blood volume. By retention of the fluid, the kidneys are trying to increase the fluid volume, the blood volume, so that more fluid can be returned to the heart, so that the heart can pump more blood. And when these compensatory changes cannot correct the mechanism, these abnormalities, it ultimately leads to so much high pressure in the lungs that this pressure now comes back on the right ventricle. Now the right ventricle also feels the pressure. Now the right ventricle also has to apply a lot of pressure. Now the pressure in the right ventricle can increase up to 60 mm of mercury, which normally is around 30. So the pressure in the right ventricle also increases. When the right ventricle pressure increases, now the right ventricle muscle mass also starts increasing, and it is known as right ventricular hypertrophy. So the abnormal circulatory dynamic changes due to mitral stenosis and mitral regurgitation includes decreased movement of blood from the LA into the left ventricle, increased blood pressure in the increased pressure of blood in the left atrium, pulmonary edema, increase in the size of left atrium, atrial fibrillation, decreased pumping effectiveness of the heart, increase in the blood volume, and right ventricular hypertrophy. These are all basically abnormal circulatory dynamic changes that occur due to mitral stenosis or mitral regurgitation, or both of them. Thanks a lot for watching the video.